Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
Glancing at the corridor that led to the bedroom, I sluggishly trudged to the front door, not expecting anything good. I also didn't expect anything bad. Nothing noteworthy had happened lately. I went to the door and opened it. I was stunned. There she stood, well, vaguely the one I remembered so well. I'm afraid my mouth was wide open as she rushed past me into my apartment, the apartment that she left about 3 months ago, leaving me at the same time. I was still stunned as I watched her survey the slightly changed interior of my home with a critical and slightly annoyed expression on her face. I looked from her to the plates on the table, back to the corridor, and back to her. Well, that has to change, obviously. It's time for me to go back and take matters into my own hands. Again, by the way, close the door, please. What? That was all I could think of to say. Closing the door actually seemed like a good idea, come to think of it, with the overly nosy neighbors in mind. With my mind empty, I watched as she looked around, studying her former territory in detail. Oh my God, did you choose these pillows? What? Okay, my answers weren't too impressive, but what could she expect? This whole situation was not only surprising, it was strange. Did you do any cleaning at all while I was gone? I looked around. The apartment was not dirty, they just lived in it. The anal cleanser no longer lived there, so I no longer had to live in a cold, antiseptic house. My luggage is in the car, we can pick it up later. My brain was barely working, but it was clear that she was acting in her usual confident manner, which was inappropriate given the situation. Your hair, I began. Well, I finally said something. Yes, I know. They will grow back in no time. Her hair had always fascinated me to no end. I was a little shocked to see her with a stylish but very short haircut. Obviously, she was no longer my woman, but it still hurt to see her without one of her most attractive features. It just wasn't right, a crying shame, that's what it was. This will take at least 5 years, I still returned to full phrases. We have plenty of time, dear. What? And what did she just call me? Expensive? Yes, I know. You don't have to mention it. I was acting so strange for a while, but now I'm back. Everything will be fine. She smiled sweetly at me as if she wanted to calm a child down. Seriously, and that was her apology? Yeah, baby, to my horror, she came closer to me and looked like she wanted to kiss me. Who was this woman, and was she completely out of her mind? She must have read my expression correctly because she stopped and looked at me, a little surprised. I know. You always liked my hair, but I felt that I needed to change something in my life. Yes, I noticed it. What? Oh no, I was just talking about your hair. Other than that, I want my life to go back to where it was. This obviously applies to you too, in case you didn't notice. She had the nerve to wink at me. So Tom had no say in your new hairstyle? She winced slightly. Tom is forever in the past. Wow, the new love in her life didn't last long. So what? What? So Tom had no say in your new hairstyle? Why do you always talk about him? He was fired and blacklisted when Parker's contract went missing. He is destroyed. He is in the past. He was a mistake, and I left him. I nodded. I heard about some of his professional failures. Yes, just like you left me. I know, but now I'm back for good. It's going to be so good, I just know it, baby. My gaze moved back to her. So Tom had no say in your new hairstyle? She seemed a little indignant at my persistence, but probably realized that she could not avoid answering. Cruel or not, she wasn't the type to lie. Perhaps he was for it. So it was his idea, maybe. I don't remember. What does it matter now? He marked you, maybe for me, maybe not, but he definitely marked you, darling. It doesn't matter at all. Her voice was unusually soft, short hair, friendly voice, almost poetic, maybe even a little unsure. Now standing in front of me was some new version of my ex. She seemed to gather her courage and suddenly began fiddling with the strap of her dress. What is she doing? She stopped working on her wardrobe, apparently having come up with some idea, and took her phone out of her purse. She fiddled with it for a while, and then my speakers obeyed her will, turning on one of her playlists. Of course, she still had full access to everything after living here for many years, and I was too dumb to change any passwords. I was probably in a daze. I observed her strange behavior without commenting. With music playing in the background, she started dancing, well, if you can call what she did dancing. She was never really into dancing and avoided it whenever possible. It said a lot about her determination that she tried to do it here. To my utter amazement, I realized that her strange movements could only be interpreted as an attempt to perform some kind of striptease. Really, this woman has always been a little reserved, refusing to openly demonstrate her sexuality. She hated any display of sexual behavior, which she always called sexist. Add to this her complete inability to adequately move to any music. The fact that she was about to take her clothes off for me told me a lot about the desperation she obviously felt but didn't want to talk about, and which for some reason didn't result in any kind of apology. The striptease itself was mildly amusing. I have always appreciated her sharp wit, humor, and her personality. Her body was not meant to be the center of attention, and I never needed it. The problem was that her body was definitely unsuitable for striptease. She was a little broad and muscular, completely lacking in elegance. Her movements were jerky and clumsy. It was all awkward, and I had to try not to offend her by laughing. I mean, it would have been perfectly within my rights to hurt her after what she did to me, but that was not my behavior. It was a difficult situation for both of us, and I tried to make it a little easier by at least showing interest in what she was doing. Her actions had no effect on the distribution of blood in the lower part of my body. My interest was piqued when she showed off one of her small tits, smiling mischievously at me. I saw something shiny and walked towards her to get a better look. Holy cow, her nipple was pierced. How did this bastard manage to get her to do this? She always prided herself on being an independent, free woman with no nonsense. She would cut off my dick just for suggesting something as sexist as this. Luckily, my reproductive organ was never in any real danger since I didn't like piercings anyway. It often just looks cheap and somehow stains a woman's breasts, as in this case. Do you like it? She asked, smiling shyly. Let me guess, his proposal again. Come on, why is this so important? She tried to pout, but she was so unaccustomed to it that she failed completely. Her evasive answer told me that I had hit the nail on the head. I just wanted to know. She tried unsuccessfully to smile seductively and continued her strangely unnatural and almost pathetic way of getting rid of clothes. And as her unusually sexy panties came into view, something strange caught my attention. It looked like some kind of stain on the skin. I moved closer to her, examining the place with a strange detached interest. It looked like a letter peeking out of her underwear. Yes, it was in T. Strange. And then it dawned on me that was the end of the Tom tattoo. He made her tattoo his name on her pubic area. Incredible. This guy was out of my league to get what he wanted from her. Let me guess, he's the one who dumped you, right? Okay, I know I had completely ruined the last vestiges of any erotic mood that might have been present. I wasn't in that mood anyway, and somehow I doubted she was either. Her reaction was a complete surprise. What? It was nice not to be the only one who was confused. Think about it. He seduced you and took you away from me. He convinced you to coldly abandon me and insult me in his presence. He made you cut your hair because he knew I liked long hair. He marked you with a piercing. He marked you with a tattoo of his name on your pubic area. Then he dumps you and sends you back to me. Perhaps it was never about you. I think he just wanted to beat me. If I take you back, everything will remind me of what he did for a very long time, perhaps forever. Tom and I have hated each other since elementary school. The best outcome for him would be if I took you back and was constantly aware that he was able to take and mark my woman forever. Cute. To my surprise, she was close to tears. Surprisingly, I have rarely seen her so emotional. I don't think I've ever seen her cry. Endearments such as darling were also unheard of until today. Why didn't you even bother to remove that damn tattoo before you came back? Now she actually looked a little remorseful, which was also quite unusual. I thought about that. The problem is the color he selected. It found it quite difficult to remove, and I'm afraid there will be scars. This is a really sensitive area. It would seriously interfere with any sexual pleasure if there were scars there. She was worried about her own sexual experience, wasn't she? Thinking about how the sight of this tattoo would affect my sexuality. You are pregnant? Shocked, she was completely shocked. Then the tears started. How do you know? I did not know that. I was just thinking about what else he could do to us. The ultimate defeat would be to force me to raise his child. So let me guess, after you confirmed that he knocked you up, he immediately left you? She simply nodded, continuing to sob. God, I wish I had turned down that damn promotion and let him get it. He wouldn't have to use you for revenge. You might not have cheated on me. Perhaps you wouldn't have left me for him. On the other hand, if he could take you away from me so easily, there wasn't that much love between us anyway, right? It was the harsh truth. We never had the kind of passionate, burning love that you read about, but we loved each other very much, and we loved living together. We were like super best friends with benefits. Tom was an exceptionally handsome man, but I believe that if we truly loved each other, he would never be able to seduce her. I don't know, she managed to choke out between sobs, but I know that I would really like to go back to where we were. Really, please? Well, I think you could remove that piercing pretty easily, she nodded almost furiously, and I think your hair will grow back eventually, nods again, the tattoo can probably be removed with a laser. She even began to smile, continuing to nod. The child is a problem. It should be your decision. I will solve this issue. Her mood completely changed, now she was almost euphoric. I won't interfere in this. So, I think all traces of it on your body can be removed. Yes, they will be deleted. The problem is the traces in my mind. What you left me in cold blood for him, you allowed him to do to you what you always refused to do to me. I always wanted to have children, but you told me you weren't ready for them. You didn't hesitate at all. If I suggested you change your body like a porn star, I would painfully and instantly turn into a soprano. For him, you didn't hesitate, and I didn't even ask what you did for him in the bedroom. Oh, right, I think he did us a favor. What he cruelly demonstrated how weak our relationship was. He showed us how much stronger your feelings are for him than for me. He showed us that we just carried on because we were used to it, too afraid or comfortable to change anything. And let's be honest, if our old relationship was so weak, what chance will the new one have? Well, maybe. She looked sad but collected and resigned to her fate. Meanwhile, she started getting dressed again, and I was glad to see it. It made the situation less awkward. Talking about something serious with an almost naked person somehow feels wrong. I'm sorry, well, that's what I said, the magic word that I have never heard from her since she left me. It was strange and telling that I was the one to say it even though I was the offended party. I suddenly realized that she was simply too weak to apologize, as if she was too weak to resist him and too weak to save us. It didn't matter, we were better off without each other. Thank you, once again, I said what she had to say, and I really meant it. With today's visit, she finally removed all the ballast from our old relationship that I carried with me. No, dear, I should thank you for listening to me, for giving me those wonderful years that we had. I am so sorry. Ironically, the very last word she said to me was the one I had been waiting for so long. With these words, she lightly pecked me on the cheek, which surprisingly did not touch me, and headed towards the door to leave my apartment and my life. It was nice, honey. What's that noise? Asked the sleepy lawman beauty who came out of the bedroom. Nothing, just someone I once knew, my love, I replied just after the door had closed. I didn't want my ex to see this before she left my life forever. My rule has always been not to kick someone who is down. Do you think we can visit my parents this weekend? I would really like you to meet them. Your parents? Yes, of course. I will be happy to meet them. This thought actually made me very happy. I placed my coffee cup on Parker's folded and heavily stained contract and followed the enchanting rustle of that long mane into the bedroom to start the morning off properly. Thank you for listening to this story. Now here is another exciting story for you to read. Mr. Watkins, Chaz, I don't believe this is really what you want to do. I raised my eyebrows, and why, Doc? Well, I know it's natural to want revenge, but I also know it's a dangerous reaction that I guarantee will backfire on you. I slowly turned my head to the right to look at Amy, who had her head down and seemed to be trying her best to appear insignificant to the current discussion. After looking at her for a few moments, I looked back at Dr. KS and noticed her annoying attempt at a friendly smile. I also noticed the lack of rings on her left hand. She was an attractive woman, closer to my age, but over the past few weeks, she had been testing my patience. Well, Doc, I yawned. I'm sure I don't know what you mean when you say this will work against me. I just can't imagine this as a possible outcome. Well, let's see. What Amy did was selfish and wrong. Revenge is also selfish and wrong, but it is also a purely malicious attack. Amy didn't attack you. Revenge would let Amy know that you are only interested in hurting her in return, which means you have no love or care for her or the marriage. I think the fact that you're here means you care. And sorry, Doc, you probably forgot. I filed for divorce, remember? I'm here because Old Faithful, a play on the name Loyal Old Man, the name of an ER on the territory of Yellowstone National Park, there, fought it and demanded consultations, and the court ruled it, yes. However, we must work together to restore trust, and this will, of course, be more difficult if she loses trust in you. What if she decides that your attempt to hurt her is more than she can handle and decides to walk away from the marriage? I smiled at her. That would seem terribly hypocritical to me. What do you think, Amy? If I had an affair with someone else, or maybe 4 others more than once, would you give up on our marriage? Mr. Watkins, the best revenge is to refuse to compromise your dignity or principles than to stoop to such a level and have an affair for revenge. Thank you, document. I understand you, but I didn't hear an answer to the question I asked my wife. Come on, Amy, why don't you join the discussion? How do we fix our marriage if you refuse to answer the hard questions? If I went and slept with 4 other women multiple times each to even the score, would you consider us equal, or would you think we were screwed? Amy grimaced. Mr. Watkins, for God's sake, Doc, call me Chaz. Chaz, this is counterproductive. Whether you decide to save your marriage or not, your self-esteem, self-respect, and happiness will remain with you. No one should be able to take that away from you. Don't descend into negative behavior that puts you on the same level as Amy's infidelity. Elevate and focus on your greatest strength, yourself. Making yourself stronger, happier, and more confident is possibly the best revenge you could ever get, and the only chance we'll be able to identify the problems in your marriage that caused Amy to cheat on you in the first place. Treason, I said quietly. Sorry? Asked Dr. KS. Treason. Do you mean she cheated on me several times with several men? But now, if you don't mind, I'd like to change the topic of discussion a little. Dr. KS nodded. Amy was still trying to pretend this wasn't happening. Amy, I'll come back to my question later so you can take some time to think about your answer. So, Doc, you just said that I need to rise to the occasion and stay positive and focused so we can figure out what caused Amy to cheat. We need to determine what is wrong in our marriage that made her cheat on me with other men more than once, right? That's right, Chaz. Once we identify these reasons, we can address them in a positive way and begin the process of healing and restoring your relationship. So you want to say that it's my fault that she's an unfaithful wife? That kind of language is counterproductive, Chaz. And yes, to some extent, it's your fault. Women in happy, fulfilling relationships simply don't commit adultery. I gave her my best incredulous look, which she ignored. It takes 2 people for a marriage to be strong and for neither partner to go astray. If we can identify these problems, we can deal with them and have a better chance of ensuring loyalty, trust, and harmony. I was taken aback for a moment, thinking about it, and finally said quietly, I call it shenanigans. Sorry? Asked the embarrassed doctor. Shenanigans, Doc. An insidious trick used specifically for a hidden purpose. I know what that word means, Chaz. I just don't understand why you think there's any shenanigans going on here. Yeah, first of all, my unfaithful wife, who claims to want to fix our marriage, a marriage she broke up, refuses to participate in this discussion. There are 2 people who are working on this marriage, but she is not one of them. And secondly, you think it's appropriate to hold me responsible for her dissolute behavior. Mr. Watkins, shut up, document. This is my money and I will have my say. If there were problems in our marriage, the appropriate response would be for my loving wife to tell me about them so we could work on them. Don't you agree? She nodded, looking a little embarrassed. So, if she decided to take a proactive, healthy approach and discuss with me her problems and desire to resolve these issues in our marriage, and I ignored her or refused to acknowledge the problems, then I would be guilty and responsible for my contribution to the continuation of the problems in our marriage, of course. But if that was the case, then her reaction was to either accept it or not and decide whether she wanted to leave the relationship or continue to try to make it work. She didn't, as far as I know. She was not unhappy. I'm no saint, but she never spoke to me about dissatisfaction with any aspect of our marriage that would justify her torpedoing the marriage. No, Doc, if she was unhappy or dissatisfied with our marriage, then her actions completely relieved me of that responsibility. She herself is to blame, and your attempts to shift the blame onto me are shenanigans, and I will not accept them. Chaz, if you can't accept your share of responsibility, I guarantee your marriage won't survive this. I slowly stretched in my chair, then stood up and headed towards the door. I think we're done, Dr. KS. If you would like to continue helping us, please leave me a message before your next session. Our life together up to this point was unremarkable and ordinary. Amy and I have been married for 20 years. We met in college during our freshman year but didn't start dating right away because, at the time we met, we were both in serious relationships with others. However, during our freshman year, we ran into each other at a party and discovered that neither of us was in a serious relationship, and we quickly began dating. After a few months of dating, I wanted to become exclusive, but Amy refused. I looked at her, thanked her for the past few months, and wished her a happy life. She was confused. Chaz, wait, what's happening? Are you saying that if I refuse an exclusive relationship, then it's all over between us? Yes, Amy, that's right. I'm looking for a long-term partner, not a sex buddy that I have to share. If it's not you, then I want to be free and look for others to find what I'm looking for. But you can date others, Chaz. I don't understand why we should stop dating just so you can date others. We have fun together and have great sex. I'm dating a few guys and I still want to spend time with you. You are free to do the same, and if you find someone special that you want to have a serious relationship with, I will not stand in your way. I thought I already found her, Amy. I'm sorry I wasted your time and mine. Goodbye. I didn't date Amy again after that and spent the rest of my junior year dating others. Sometimes we bumped into each other at parties, but I never talked to her, much less called her. By my senior year, I was dating a beautiful Asian girl and was seriously considering marriage when she told me that she had been accepted into graduate school abroad and would be leaving within a week of graduation. She was so happy that I couldn't bring myself to tell her how I felt, so I swallowed my wounded pride and helped her celebrate. Gradually, I started to move away from her, but she didn't seem to notice, or to be completely honest with myself, she didn't care, and a week after graduation, she left. I still occasionally receive letters from her, but that's where the affair ended. After graduating from university, I got a job at a large software development firm and started my career. I was making great money, and after 2 years, I was offered to join the sales team. I started working in the development department, but they quickly discovered that I was one of the few developers they could trust to work with clients. And I quickly became the implementation project manager and pre-sales assistant for our account managers, whose technical and at the same time personal assistance was required. Ultimately, the VP of sales decided that I would probably succeed in sales, and she was right. In my first year in sales, I met 121% of my quota, which allowed me to generate serious tax income. I was happy at my job, owned a nice upscale apartment, drove a new car, and generally lived the life of a single man with no commitments. I dated, had sex, and was unhappy. I wanted a relationship, someone to share my success and life with. After 2 successful years in sales, I met Amy again by chance. She worked as a junior purchasing agent for the company I was presenting to and was included on the team evaluating our solution and proposal. Long story short, we started dating, and it seemed like Amy was ready for commitment this time and wanted an exclusive relationship. She seemed to have changed, and the chemistry was still there, so I agreed, and 18 months later, we got married. 2 years later, Amy gave birth to our son, Peter, but unfortunately, she was told that another child was not wanted. We were devastated, but we were happy that we at least had Pete and decided to move on with our lives. I had a vasectomy, and we moved on, cherishing our marriage, each other, our son, and our careers. After Pete left for college, Amy and I started having some friction. She was taciturn with me and seemed inclined to be where I was not. Our once vibrant sex life had dwindled to almost nothing, and I began to wonder about Amy. She worked a lot and was not at all kind to me. I've never ignored problems, so I hired a private investigator to find out what was going on. What happened led us to this point, Mr. Watkins. This is Dr. KS. I think I understand your disappointment after our last session and want to assure you that I am ready to help you in. Amy, I truly do not hold you responsible for her decisions and actions. I believe that in yours, there were bound to be cracks in the marriage, but I recognize that you are right when you say that how Amy chose to handle this is our main concern. Please understand that I want you both to be stronger when this is all over. I want you to heal from the pain she has caused you and for me to help you both cope with your new reality, whatever it is. Please don't give up on me, Amy, or your marriage. I sincerely hope that we'll see you tomorrow at our session. I really wanted an answer to my question, and since Amy was currently staying with a friend and we weren't talking, I thought, what the hell, I'll give Doc another chance. Additionally, I could be held in contempt of court if I refused to participate, in which case I would have to start the sessions all over again. Have you two been intimate since this all started? I stared at Amy, who never seemed to leave her chair or position since our last session. I waited a moment before answering, no, Doc, we didn't have any intimacy. Still looking at Amy, who stubbornly refused to look at me or the consultant. And why, Chaz? Doc, do you mind if I take a break for a second and address Amy directly? She looked weary but agreed. Amy, are you here to participate or not? It seems like I'm doing all the hard work here, and as far as I know, I'm not the one who lied and cheated. I didn't want this, you did it. You either step forward or I'll end this right now. Yes, that is, sorry. I'll try to be more. Yes, I will participate. Okay, great. The doc wants to know why we're not having sex. Why don't you answer this question and then I'll clarify everything you need. Certainly, sorry. Well, Chaz won't talk to me and I'm staying with a friend at the moment, so we don't have any options. And I wasn't tested for diseases. And I asked well, Chaz says intimacy isn't something he's comfortable with at the moment. This is not exactly what I said, but it is, of course, less colorful. Doc, do you have any idea how many times over the years I've had the opportunity to have extramarital sex? Oh, no. How can I? But I can assume that you had more than enough opportunities. You are a very attractive, fit, successful man, so I can assume that there were plenty of such opportunities. I winked at her and she blushed slightly. Damn right, and they continue to be, I have a problem here, document. You see, if we leave aside the absolute dishonesty and Amy's selfishness and what it did to my love and attraction for her, I can't be intimate with her for 3 reasons. First, I never want to be perceived as agreeing with her behavior. If I had become intimate with her before we consummated our marriage, I would feel like I was accepting her infidelity, which I am not. Secondly, I refuse to put my health at risk. I have no idea if she has sexually transmitted diseases. At the same time, I chuckled. Finally, I need to balance the scales. Until now, I have refused everyone who came, if you'll pardon the pun. I believed in the vow we made and respected and loved my wife enough that I didn't want to hurt her or jeopardize her health or our relationship. But now it looks like she's taken the opportunity to try out 5 different wands several times each, and for me to feel like the scales are balanced, I need to have the same opportunity to see what other women have to offer me. This isn't about revenge, document. It's just a happy byproduct. No, it's about equality, fairness, and balance. Wouldn't you say that these are important factors in fixing our marriage? Amy trembled and Dr. KS chewed the inside of her cheek, contemplating her answer. 5, she whispered. I began to become impatient with this couple, document. How many more sessions has the court ordered us? She looked at me quickly, contemplating changing the subject. Well, let's see. The court ordered 4 more sessions, Chaz. Fine. Let me ask you, do you think we can fix anything enough for me to consider withdrawing my divorce petition within the next 4 sessions, Amy? Sigh. I turned to look at her. Amy, I'm going to be as honest with you as possible. The only hope, and let me be clear, I'm not saying I guarantee anything, but the only hope for me to give up the divorce is if I feel like the balance is back. Mr. Watkins, I thought I explained how devastating this would be. We have 4 sessions left, and I think... Thank you, document. I am aware of your thoughts on this issue, Amy. I'll repeat my question from last week. If I feel like the only way for us to consider staying married is to tip the scales and have me sleep with 5 different women multiple times, what would you do? Will you feel that you can no longer stay married to me and allow the divorce to happen, or will you accept it? No answer, just sobs. After a few awkward moments, I turned to Dr. KS. When we first came into this office a few sessions ago, Dr. KS, what did you think was most important for successful counseling? Honesty. You both need to be completely honest with me and each other if we want to get anywhere. And what do you think, Beverly? Was I honest with you? Her eyes widened a little at my calling her name. Yes, I can say that I feel like you were completely honest with me, Chaz. Thank you. And can you say you feel the same way about Old Faithful? She looked thoughtfully at Amy, who looked slightly less comfortable. Honestly, I don't think I can answer this question. Amy, you didn't talk very much during these sessions, and as I think about it, I have to wonder. Yes, me too. Would you be surprised to learn that Amy is still cheating on me, Beverly? That the friend she lives with is her new lover? Amy huddled in the chair and began to sob quietly. Dr. KS looked upset. What are the minimum requirements to complete the remaining sessions to the satisfaction of the court, Beverly? Dear viewers, thank you for staying with us and supporting our channel. See you again.